Welcome to share this moment with us. What you are about to experience is derived from a public intervention and a video work we did together about it a couple of months ago. We named it Resistanssi because tanssi means dance in Finnish and resistanssi means resistance. As always, feel free to do what you need to do. If you need to leave the space, you can do so whenever. You can come talk to each of us in the courtyard afterwards, and perhaps we can dance together in the after party. For 2 weeks in April, we practiced dancing Dabke, a traditional Levantine dance, in various locations around Berlin. This public practice was a gesture of solidarity for Palestinians undergoing 75 years of occupation and several months of escalating genocide. During the past months in Germany, we have seen censorship of artworks, cancellation of exhibitions, arrests of protesters, nighttime raids of activists' homes, all because anti-Zionist actions are wrongfully categorized as anti-Semitism and silenced, so that the white supremacist settler colonial interests of Germany and its allies prevail. Our resist dance was also a test. We wanted to see if we, two white bodies, are able to use our privilege to hold space for resistance, solidarity, and activism in Berlin through dance.
Dancing the dance. Dancing the dance. Dancing the dance of the people. Dancing the dance of the people who are killed right now. Dancing the dance of the people who are killed and murdered, mass murdered right now, and have been forced to resist, to leave their homes, leave their land for 75 years now. What does it mean? What does it mean in Berlin, in this specific context? In this city that for so many represents or has been representing freedom of expression, pleasure, hedonism. Or has it? Maybe for some. What does it mean in Hermannplatz, in Alexanderplatz, in Leopoldsplatz? Who can afford to dance in this city? Who's visible? Dancing the dance of another culture's resistance dance. What does it mean? What does it mean when danced by two white bodies? Is it cultural appropriation? Cultural appreciation? An act of solidarity? Failed attempt, succeeded research? Dance is there all over the world, embedded in resistance. But is it resistance if nobody seems to be disturbed? Can resistance be joyful? Dabke's celebration. One of the things that I learned while doing this project is one of the birth stories of Dabke. There is a story, might be true, probably is true, that people, when they were like in the Levantine area building houses, people would go on the roof to test if the roof is good roof. And they would like stomp it to see if someone falls through. And they would hold hands so that if somebody falls through, the other people will carry their weight. What does it mean? For example, in Hermannplatz, when some racialized people whispered us that they would like to join, and then they like showed thumbs up and were like, but we're too scared to do it. What does it mean when we exchange stories and struggles and talk about Palestine? And then we talk about Syria, and we learn a Syrian variation. And then someone joins and wants to show their folk dance. What does it mean in the streets? What happens? How does it change when brought to an institution like this? When recorded, when shown on the video, here and now. Does it matter? Does anything matter in this time when the genocide intensifies? So far from here, and yet so connected. Germany being the second largest arms supplier for the occupied Palestine, known as Israel. My white, highlighted sense of agency, I can do something about it, like we can do something about it. With the hope and faith of a child in the kite on the sky, free Palestine.
For the first time in my life, I chose a nickname to be credited in an artistic work. Because I'm not used to having nicknames, it was hard to choose one. These Eyes was for me both referring to my initials and being the cinematographer, but also meant these eyes. Why did I feel a need to do that? Is a question that I still reflect on the answer. From the beginning, I addressed my concerns of safety. I was working with 2 white EU citizens who did not even permanently live in Berlin. Despite me being white passing, our level of risk-taking could not be the same. My residence permit had expired a few months ago, and I was still waiting for my appointment. Although I was behind the camera and not in the front, I had to ask how could we ensure my legal safety. I was approaching my 5th year here, on my way to becoming a senior migrant, possibly, if I am well behaved enough, to someday getting citizenship. I felt the pressure to behave or appear like a good migrant. At the same time, I was questioning what a good migrant means. I don't know why I'm talking in past tense, because this is an ongoing process. It felt strange to be thinking about all these things when all we are doing was dancing on the streets. For me, it was a familiar thought process, as the past years in my home country before moving here had already taught me that 3 people gathering to do any action on the street could get you arrested. It could include dancing, or even standing, or sitting. To my surprise, the police didn't really seem to care, even when we were next to them. Monia and Jenna called it white privilege. For me, another layer of white privilege came through in the phrase "Goodbye Berlin" that was at some point proposed to be the title of this work. For some, it seemed like an easily applicable option to say goodbye to Berlin in the face of adversity and start a new life somewhere else. For me, it wasn't, and I was also too disillusioned to imagine that things could be much better elsewhere. Rather, that everywhere I go, I would have different privileges and hindrances that would make life easier or more challenging, and I would have to resist in one way or another. This became more clear the more I saw how the topic of what is happening in Palestine was handled in Germany. It was very different to my home country, where we were informed about this in mainstream media since as long as I can remember. And I don't remember it ever being a topic of discussion or controversy. Other topics that were considered controversial and faced heavy censorship in my home country could be raised openly here. Once speech is under censorship, we start to communicate with symbols. One important symbol for Palestinian resistance is the watermelon.